I've been so inspired about for so friggin' long. How do we make spirituality fun again? How do we enjoy it? How do we be silly with it? How does it shift from something where we feel obligated to practice, to meditate, to pray, to bless? I am supposed to be a holy, ascended, enlightened being in training. Come on. Like, let's get serious. Oh, and by the way, if I look up, it's for Instagram. If I look below, it's for Facebook and YouTube, working on that multi-stream setup in the new studio. So when is spirituality fun and when is it not fun, right? I think we all know when it's not fun. We've all had that meditation practice that we so committed to do, that we so wanted to do, or that great mantra, or that great energy healing routine, or anything we might want to put in our body, anytime we might want to interact with somebody in a certain way, any manifestation, law of attraction book. We want to be fully absorbed. We want to take it into our being. We want to become something greater, so much more expansive. And we want to get our superpowers. We want to feel inner peace. We want to feel joy, right? All the benefits, the extrinsic benefits of spirituality we want to get, we want to have, right? And stepping out of that, kind of leveling up and honoring some of the traditions and practices, we care to be a certain way. We care to be above needing a motivation. We care to have a way of being that the non-physical, at least, is what we use spirituality to express. So if you've tuned in to me for a while, you know I love magic. I love advanced magical concepts. I love weaving in the science. I don't love being a walking dissertation, but I love, citing the sources and things. But oftentimes in my own spiritual practice, I'll feel like I should do something, right? Like I have 3 hours a day of mantras and meditation and really, really rich higher states of awareness that I like to get into to do all this work, to maintain all these practices. And when I do that stuff, I feel great, right? But when I don't, especially if I miss a day, I feel kind of crappy about myself. I feel like I should have done that. Do you ever feel that way? Do you ever feel like you wanted to live your highest self? You wanted to embody like the best teachings that you've encountered in books, in videos, with teachers, in your own insights. But then you kind of slip back into the old patterns, right? You kind of slip back into life as it was, where you should do something, but you don't really, because you're not a robot, right? So how do you tie that joy back in? How do you make spirituality fun, not just in your own practice, but let's get with it. If the world took spirituality as a fun topic, shedding all the stories of politically motivated religious, mistakes, or all the teachers who had some kind of a scandal, or all the text, which is really great when you're in the mood for it, but when you're not, it's like, you should be this better, higher vibey person, but I just want to eat bacon, right? That was me earlier today after a long hike. Not to say there's anything wrong with bacon in the universal oneness sense. So I want to offer a few practices, and I want to offer a framework that I call a joy blueprint. So I threw this in the description. So a joy blueprint is kind of like a standard operating procedure for feeling and being embodied with joy with whatever you're doing. So we can link it with spirituality in the topic of this workshop. We could talk about the shift of the world as a whole, but I want to leave you with a tool that I'll give kind of an outline to over the course of this live. I plan to be live for about an hour or so. And hopefully if you tune in and you do the work, you'll know that, you feel this, you do that. You want to have this experience, you adjust in some type of a way if you're not having that experience. In a whole lifetime, I turned 36 last week, yeah. And since I was 12 and started my spiritual practices and astral projections and meditations and manifestations, not to say I've been perfect by a long shot, no, but I think I've learned a lot about how to anchor in the important things related to personal growth, related to becoming a certain type of being and living a certain way, and also enjoying it, having fun with it. I have a great friend named Max. He's so lighthearted. He's so full of joy. He's becoming a TikTok pop star overnight with his shuffle stuff. I'll be tagging it and mentioning it, over the next chunk of time here. But he takes such a lighthearted version to some things while also, caring about important stuff. That's helped me realize I felt way too serious about all this stuff. Hey, thanks, Ken. Glad to hear we're the same chronological age. That's so meaningful. But anyway, what I've been learning from Max and from a lot of other people in my life is that we can we can be chill, we can be lighthearted, and we can still do what we got to do. And so taking that into meditation, taking that into energy healing and everything, for the first thing on the joy blueprint that I mentioned earlier, I want you to just write down my top 4 spiritual practices, right? 3s are everywhere, big lists are everywhere. 4 is kind of easy to manage, right? Don't make it any priority order. If they come to mind intuitively, write them down now. But if you're tuning in and you just want to write an outline, write down top 4 spiritual practices. And if you just have one device, no pen or paper, then just take a screenshot of this video with the timestamp so you remember, the first part of the Joy Blueprint. But in these top 4 spiritual practices, the next thing I want you to write next to each of them is how you feel when you do them and how you feel when you think about doing them. So for me, when I meditate, something most people who are tuned into spirituality care about doing, when I meditate and it goes well, I feel so good. I feel so expansive. My day-to-day story melts away. I feel this greater linking with the universe beyond time and space. I feel blissed out through my body. No thoughts, worries, or cares about the stuff of 3D life, all the things we have to do in these incarnations, in these paths. The more blissed out I feel. Some people could call that a low-level samadhi. Some people call that activating part of my brain or part of the brain. It can be expressed and described in a lot of ways. So when I do that, I feel great. And I feel great for the whole next day if it goes well. But if I haven't meditated in a few days, or especially, don't tell anybody, but a few weeks, then I'll start getting into my old patterns, right? We all have these. We all have these ways of being which are suboptimal, whether it's being emotionally reactive or having weaker focus or not enjoying life. I kind of just don't feel as good. And I know I'm not as on top of my game personally and professionally. When I meditate, I'm loving, I'm kind, I'm present. And when I don't meditate as much, I have to work a bit harder for those qualities. So if you write down how you feel when you meditate or, fill in your favorite practice there, you have that emotional connection, you have that awareness, right? But when you don't do the thing, and I'll just use meditation, fill in the blank there, it's kind of like, I should do this. I know it's really good and I should make the time. I should do the prep work. I should, get my schedule and my discipline how it has to be. But it kind of feels like a chore, right? It kind of feels like you should do it. But, if there's not a smoking gun to your head, there could always be something more important to do, until it's an ironclad routine like brushing your teeth, hopefully. So how do you link the feeling you get when you action? So every time you think about it, you feel joy, right? How do you make that spiritual practice joyful? How do you make it fun, right? Not just positive, but like, I'm so jazzed to meditate. Or again, fill in your favorite practice there. So that will come about. The answer will arise in your own mind. I'm not just going to tell it to you and then you tune out and be like, my life is solved. But the next thing on the list is, when are you the most carefree, but also stick to your core principles, right? So a lot of us throughout life have, over 21, have had a sip of alcohol or other stuff. A lot of us have had the experience of being in love, being wrapped up in a video game, or just laughing with friends and just being in a space where life is fun and whatever's happening, is fine, right? And we get back to our obligations and everything else. And it's not always realistic to think that all of life can always be fun, can always be a game, can always be super right brain jazz. And having this link, right? One of the biggest tools, the best keys I found for shifting an emotional state in a relationship is a positive trigger, right? So Brendon Bouchard, one of my teachers, says anytime he walks through a doorway, he thinks, how can I bring the joy into this room, right? I love that. If you're going in a room with any people, or if you're very psychically tuned in, any spirits, ascended masters, non-physical consciousnesses that might be there. But if anytime you walked into a room, you took on that trigger of how do you bring the joy, and you really anchored it and you really lived it, you'd succeed at it, right? And you would be more joyful. So the key thing here is finding the positive trigger for having fun, for enjoying something, for being immersed, being engaged, being in a flow state, but having that lightheartedness where you don't take yourself as seriously. And yeah, sure, you follow any principles or protocols, but you're just like, you're chill, you're good, right? And you don't need substances, you don't need a special scenario, you don't need really good news, those extrinsic motivators. So I want you right now just to think of the most fun you've ever had in your whole life, right? Fun is different for all of us. For some people, it's stomping grapes. For some people, it's being tickled, right? The list goes on. And so just you ask yourself that, and you know intuitively when, especially if you have a practice you really want to do, you know is really good for you, you've seen the research, you have the experience, etc. How do you link those two things, right? So just take a second and tune in to yourself just a little bit to see if that fun, thing just clicks. And I'd offer that if it doesn't, just try stuff, just rotate. You don't have to have the top thing right there, okay? It could be, I don't want to fill you with ideas. Like, I don't want to prime you, when you have fun, when you're enjoying life. And I would offer for you to create the positive trigger of either reliving that memory or redoing that activity as a warm-up, right? The attitude of making spirituality fun again, if it's not fun for you personally, we'll get into the global stuff in a second, is about emotional transference. So I'm not saying fun is an emotional state. I'm saying joy is an emotional state. But let's just be chill about it and say fun is a state of being that can go with this vocab term, emotional transference. Let's not get too technical. And what I would love for you is to be able to have this state of being where something is fun and joyful and effortless, to be honest, especially for something so important as meditation. And when you're in that fun state, if you transition to what you want to be doing, what you feel you should do, etc., then you're going to start to feel that energy when you think about doing that practice. And you're going to start to shift it from a should, from a have to, from a blah, to I get to do this, right? So one example is anytime I eat something, I really like to charge it. I like to zap it. I like to fill it with love. I like to see how it'll nourish me and transform me and shift my experience and just have it so full of prana that every bite is just like amazing, right? Like the best ice cream or ice cream substitute. If you don't eat ice cream, you can, right? I don't do that every meal. I do that maybe 1 in every 10 meals, right? I'm coming clean. This is confession. I don't bless my food every meal. Sorry. No, I'm not ashamed. So for you, that thing that you want to do, that one thing, meditation or otherwise, how can you make it fun, right? So for me, for zapping my food, for energy healing, for blessing it, for tuning in intuitively, what's the best thing to eat, what's the best pace to eat, it might sound silly, but this is my version of fun. I love being an alchemist. I love playing with food. I love different food combinations. I love drawing pictures with it. And I usually don't, right? It's usually kind of utilitarian. When I order something healthy and tasty, I'm going to eat it at the right pace, right time of day, etc. And then, okay, eating done, checked off the list. And eating hasn't always been the most fun experience. It's felt like something I've had to do unless it's an incredible meal. And then, if you know the science of, dopamine thresholds, the first few bites of something you love, and then you kind of forget about it. A lot of us multitask. We watch something or do something or don't fully experience every bite, right? Fully like taste it and live it and be it and feel the new self we're taking in, right? When you eat, you're giving your body raw materials to replace the cells that die and that are detoxified with the raw materials for new cellular matter for your body, aka you, at least on the 3D. So why isn't that the best thing ever? If you want to feel the best ever, you want to be the best ever, strong, fit, sharp, clear skin, thick hair, like whatever qualities you want your physical body to have, it seems like a no-brainer, right? To choose, pick, and bless your food. But, if you were like me and you like being an alchemist, then even like the simplest thing, even like eating an apple, could that turn into something that you juggle, that you appreciate, like the beauty of it? That I don't know. For me, I might want to like play catch with it a few times, or turn it in different angles, or see abstract shapes in it. Just kind of like get into it more and make it like an enjoyable, happy practice. And then from there, being in that state, say, oh, cool. Now I have that high emotion. I'm going to zap it with love. Or I'm going to zap it with strength, right? Whatever it might be. If you've tuned into some of my channelings, the Thoth channeling, the Krishna channeling, if you've been part of my more serious workshops in the past where I was like bringing in the divine energy to be completely full, that's great, right? That's great when it's there. But those higher states of awareness, when they're not there, we want to look forward to something and do it all the time. And that's a system that, for me, getting in the states of awareness when it's not there all the time, there's got to be something else, right? If those awarenesses are 5, 6, 70 higher states of awareness that, to be honest, aren't great for driving or doing day-to-day tasks, they're in theta. They're in, that slower brainwave, deeper, richer state. And the day-to-day state of getting stuff done is beta brainwaves. The focus, learning, attention, memory of quality work or study is alpha. So the topic of fun is being in the beta wave state, being in your day-to-day waking state, maybe with caffeine in you or just during the workday, and not having to transition to that super expansive, deep, rich theta trance state. Even if you can quickly, right? There's sometimes I can just like that. And I'm really grateful for that. The reason why it's valuable to make spirituality fun, in my humble opinion as a fellow student, is to be able to weave in spirituality throughout your entire life, right? To not have it be something that's sequestered into a corner, or that you schedule and you fit here, you fit there, if there's time or if other circumstances align, right? If you are really, really wanting to be spiritual, to be magical, as much time as possible, you want that to be part of who you are, not just something that you do, you got to find a way to fit of doing spiritual practices to the point where they can get to the point where you can do that more often. Is the return on investment that comes from faith. So just to give you a raw example from this very day, I had this live scheduled for a week. I wanted to promote it and mention it in groups and send out email blasts and do all these posts. And I didn't, just because of how the week went. And I apologize that you didn't have a heads up about this and about future ones. I'll definitely be posting more in the future. But even at 6 o'clock, I'm in Pacific time, and I went live, right a little bit after 7. I was kind of doubting myself. I was feeling like, I don't feel like doing this. It's not optimal. It's not fun. It feels like an obligation. It feels like work. I know it's my life purpose. I know I love going live, and I have in the past, but I just don't feel like it. And thank all the gods and goddesses and higher selves and unity consciousness, spaghetti monsters and whatever. But something came into me, something came through me, and I didn't have to do anything. And right at 6:30, I just felt aligned. And I did the prep work to go live. Obviously, the lighting and the studio setup and the everything, could be a little bit better. But I'm just here. And this teaching, this transmission, this workshop, this offering, just something came in me and I showed up, right? So I'm grateful for that, because I link that to the practice of surrender. My favorite current mantra is, I surrender to divine will. And that is such an incredibly valuable mantra of letting the higher self come in, the higher self as you, the divine as you, right? To come in and allow a bit of a walk-in, to be honest. And if you're not familiar, a walk-in is when there is a consciousness that you might label, ascertain, judge, call to be higher than you, greater than your day-to-day awareness, you could say, to come in and take over your system. In the noblest, highest, safest sense, that walk-in is you. You could think of your future self, your ideal self, your higher self, your ascended master self or ascended mistress. It's reclaim mistress, ladies, or redefine it. I honor you and your everything in your story. But the fact that was able to come in, the fact that I was able to show up and do a live, even though I didn't feel like it, even though I didn't do a practice, was because of all the work I had done up to this point, all the practices I had found a way to do. And the holding my commitment to myself, to you, the ability to be joyful and be of service and live my mission and do the parts of my career that I deeply care about in a way that is effortless, I feel is one of the biggest prizes of a successful spiritual practice. And I know I'm being really utilitarian, and I know for those who are very devout, spirituality should be utilitarian, but let's face it, we're motivated by what we're motivated by, and we're all working to grow and get to that point. So the value of doing this work, the value of finding the thing that makes you most joyful, finding a way to get in the memory or do that thing as a warm up to your spiritual practices. Doing that 10, 15, 20, 50 times. I am being absolutely literal here, so that when it's time to meditate, when it's time to bless the food, when it's time to heal yourself, when it's time to read that text, when it's time to whatever, even if you don't feel like it, you can do the warm up, you can do the shift, you can feel fun, you can love it, you can do the activity, you can be engaged, you can do it with more depth and sincerity, you can achieve and appreciate and experience more growth, and your whole life is leveled up as a result. That's the success I would love for you to experience, right? So I want you just to feel into that for a second, and just to close your eyes with me and breathe. I've been talking now for a while, so I want to allow this to soak in and lead you in a shift of a guided meditation as we shift from you and me in direct experience to a global consciousness. So just to shift a bit from the high beta of these words to a bit more alpha, maybe a theta brain state, and offer for you to close your eyes and just exhale any thoughts. And trust that anything that you've heard in this live so far, in this video, just trust your subconscious to offer it back up when it's needed. Trust that you can rewatch any parts you need to rewatch, but just be present, right? Just be fully present in this now and just let yourself smile. And if you can, just let any laugh of silliness come out for you, because we have so many lifetimes. We have so many opportunities to be what we want to be, that we can just chill the F out about everything and just take a deep breath of fresh, clean, free air. Feel any tension in your body. Just go with me. And releasing through sound. If you're listening and watching, you're probably not talking. So with me again, just take a deep breath and go. And we'll do two more. Just kind of shake your body all the way. And just like this was live and you're in one of those, fun in-person things. And one more, just shake it all out. Be as free-flowing and loud as you can, given your scenario. Right? Letting go of all that tension is sometimes a great way of clearing the slate for what comes next. Now, breathing in the stillness after you've released what you had to release. If it feels right, do that a few more times. I want you to allow yourself as a soul in your vision to pop up and out of your body and your life story. I want you to float upwards and see this life as a comic strip of events. Any past stuff, any future hopes, plans, dreams, fears, just see those as images. You are above them in awareness. None of them matter. You're just noticing the history and possible futures of your experience. And in this soul awareness, you could call it a fourth or a fifth dimensional awareness if it feels true. Consider looking up. And this up is to the portals to the highest realms of the divine, where there's infinite creation, there's infinite love and presence, and there's infinite power and ability to edit that third dimensional experience to an infinite degree, right? Unlock any power, heal any wound, have any experience, be in any body, anything with the weather, creating worlds, that vast expansiveness of the fountainhead above physical reality, above timelines, above dimensions, that higher perspective, right? As you consider that higher perspective, consider the choice to incarnate. Consider the choice to allow your perspective to be reduced into a physical body and a physical mind that's usually only aware of the 3D, that might remember energy, that might remember soul, but that's, constricted to be real. And going back up to that divine realm of total expansiveness, where the field is expanded, it's even above fields and above energy, and considering the possibility of incarnating, wouldn't it be best to incarnate not just into a body, but into a world there where your soul connection is easy because it's so open, because spirituality is just everywhere and abundant and enjoyable and happy? And on any advertisements on TV and media, any shows, any interactions, the core principles that give you an enriching, loving, true, powerful, rich spiritual life aren't just an industry, aren't just things to do, but that are just woven into the fabric of the world you are creating with this vision of this divine perspective. And if you feel you've slipped, ascend higher, again, above timelines, above planets, above dimensions. And as you consider with this expansive viewpoint, which you can stay in for limitless time in any meditation, I want you to allow yourself to birth the world you will incarnate in, to birth the dimension, the timeline, the reality, the planet, the body and mind. And trying to stay in this higher perspective, relaxing your chest and your stomach, having the simultaneous awareness of duality, of things and people and places, and the you and the not you, and the non-duality of the infinite, of the indivisible. Consider the choice of allowing your awareness to be restricted, and the best choice of that could be if you have total freedom to create any experience for yourself or those around you. And at a global level, consider the frequency as an energetic pattern of fun and joy. And two frequencies there. Well, let's intertwine them. Joyful fun. And the topic of experience and attention that is spirituality. Feel the richness of each of these two things. Weave them together. Allow them to be intertwined visually, whatever that looks like. What I can offer is to see not just comic strips, but video clips of different experiences of people in the world, of different bodies and minds that you could choose to have and incarnate into when you shift back from this infinite divine perspective. And just hold in the palm of your hands, in your mind's eye, that vision of a world where spirituality is fun, where people treat each other lovingly and kindly, where if there is a higher teaching to come in, or a shifting from story and emotion and disagreement and all that, a shift up to the realization that, hey, we're souls, we incarnated, let's have a great time. Let's laugh off all the tension. Let's still do what we feel is right to do, but let's just do it with a lighter heart. And I want you to see this reality that you're choosing to create and incarnate into. This is a collective manifestation. Even if you're watching this on a recording, I want you to see this world, and I want you to reference the old one. The old one is the world where you remember, where people get locked in triggers, where people get locked in victimization, where hearts and the bright infinite light of people's hearts gets constricted by shadow and sadness and grief and fear and anger, and closing off the body, mind, ego from this higher cosmic self. And focus on the reality you want to create, you want to be, you want to live in, where that higher expanded self is close as possible to the highest awareness you've ever experienced now or any other memory, where that's just there. And the reminders, if your ego mind starts to go back or think about that old world, that positive trigger that we talked about earlier, bring that in and see yourself and see others doing that action, that positive trigger, that lighthearted shift to fun. And then the load, the heaviness of the spiritual practice changes to, heck yeah, let's bring this in. Let's do some ecstatic dance before we go back to conflict resolution. Let's even consider the stories of conflict and the spiritual teachings of opportunity and wound as gift from that higher divine perspective, and weave in that positive trigger of fun to those things. And if that trigger needs to be adjusted to something you visualize, if you're engaging with other people and they don't have the same trigger, if this is a great thing to connect and do with friends and have agreements. I have a friend who will punch me if I'm not in the best state, and that's my positive trigger to just be present. But from this expanded state, seeing what could the whole world be like if we could just slip into the higher awareness with the light heart that we enjoy shifting into all the time. Consider from that higher perspective, not an ego-identified one, from the higher perspective, a topic of a political situation. For most of us, that's easy to consider, and stay expansive, don't go into story, and see that political situation and the difference of opinions and how everyone's being affected. See any people involved just being receiving of this reminder, of this trigger, to laugh, let go of the tension in their bodies, do some prayer, do some forgiveness, expand and offer love to all beings present, and then resume the dialogue. And maybe the content of the dialogue will be the same, maybe it'll be relaxed, but just imagine that lightheartedness into that situation of politics, which could need it significantly. See that comic strip. Now I want you to shift to seeing an interaction between you and people you care about but have had conflict with, and the spiritual practices of supporting each other, being of service, filling the container with joy, and honoring yourself. I want you to see yourself from that witness consciousness, shifting out of reactivity, shifting out of all the push and pull and colors of that heart, wiping that comic strip aside and just seeing a bright light heart where you remember that positive trigger, you do that thing, maybe you're real with somebody and they do the thing too, and then you resume. And just lastly, I want you to see from this higher vantage point of the new self, the new world you're about to create, that you're creating in this moment, that you'll shift back into automatically when this meditation is over. I want you to see yourself. And I want you to see yourself at a decision point. And at this decision point, I want you to see yourself about to take a non-ideal path. Maybe put something in your body to cope. Maybe avoid a situation. Maybe a choice that is a lower self choice. And I want you to feel compassion for yourself. As a divine being, feel compassion for your mortal self, or the self that believes itself to be mortal. And just send that self-love. And see that ego self, that version of you, that mind, body, ego complex that you are creating as you allow yourself later to descend and get back into that 3D reality. I want you to see that spark. As I'm snapping my fingers here, I'm giving you an anchor to start that positive trigger. And I want you to see yourself snapping your finger, remembering this lesson, this opportunity, this experience, shaking it off, and doing that joy trigger, and doing that fun trigger. And you see yourself at that decision point, now choosing to do that spiritual practice, to be that spiritual person with whatever choice at the decision point that would be the most supportive and constructive for you instead of the most destructive. This is a major possible shifting point for your life. Doesn't matter what the topic it is, sticking to your core integrity of your highest self. And that switch is effortless. And then you laugh. And seeing all this stuff from this higher perspective and a simultaneous awareness of the dual and the non-dual, I want to offer for you to say, I choose this world to incarnate into now. Go ahead. I choose this world to incarnate into now. And if you say that with truth and meaning, I want you to allow your awareness to reconstrict, to descend back into the mortal, the 3D, the day-to-day, not needing the high divine alpha theta, but knowing that and you created this world. And as you refamiliarize yourself with the body, the mind, the ego, you're remembering in this moment that you're a divine being, that you created and chose this reality and this self, that this shift, if you allow it to be, is permanent. Thanks, Mr. Girl. It is the best world ever. And that any other time you want to make a shift, you can rewatch this video, you can redo the practice, you can anchor it in, right? And just being really present with yourself in this moment. This is the life you have chosen to live. This is the world you've chosen to experience. Big manifestations sometimes do take repeats, but any stories of the old self are thrown away. And you can choose right now the conviction in this moment to be that being and to have that experience as long as you're in this body, as long as you have this ego. Just feel into that for a second. It's powerful stuff. And if you notice, yeah, I noticed that's still landing. So if it's landing for you, don't shift back to old patterns. Feel the energy of this. Really allow yourself to feel it with the core of your being, right? Feel this version of you, this version of reality where the shift is, and there's no effort and strife and struggle and work. It just is. What a relief, right? I'm going to shift back into beta. If you are very, very much in tune with reprogramming yourself, I'd offer that you actually pause this and play some music and get deep into that meditation and hold that awareness as much as you can. But again, we are right now at 41 minutes and 41 seconds. Love that. So I'm going to continue with the content here. And I felt a really powerful shift. And just to offer as a reflection, and again, if you're just tuning in, I'm looking here for YouTube and Facebook and here for Insta. I felt that I didn't have to do any work for that shift to occur. I feel that I am in this world that I described for you, my own version of it, and that it's a choice to choose differently. And that's the core thing I'd like to offer for you in any powerful meditation is the where are you being? What is your being? And if your being would be anything else, is it a conscious choice? Or is it a reactive pattern? Right? A goal, if not the goal of spirituality, is to be conscious of your entire experience. You could link that with mindfulness. You could link that with a million things, but just being conscious of, and ideally directing and surrendering simultaneously of your experience, that's freedom, right? So I wanted to pause for questions. Hey everybody, Vital Red Pill, hi to you too. It's an interesting name. And as we're here, I noticed, sorry about that, Facebook wigged out. My internet connection wasn't what it could have been. I want to offer you a few closing ideas because I feel like this meditation really anchored a lot into experience here. And the closing ideas are, if you'd like to stay connected with these frequencies, if you'd like to receive support from me and hear the stories of other people wanting to anchor this stuff in, wanting to anchor in a life where spirituality is joyful and fun, a world where spirituality is joyful and fun, then please shoot me a DM and ask about Mastermind, mentoring, and Wizard School. These things are elements I have invested so much of myself in to be of service to you and to help the world be a greater version of what I shared. In my book, Magic is Real, I talk about, a magical golden age. That's my website URL. It's a very, you could say, lofty, idealized vision. And so mentoring is working one-on-one, where we talk on the phone, we talk on video. I could support you very deeply, anchoring in these transformative shifts and keeping them there, helping you heal whatever you want to heal, helping you manifest whatever you want to manifest. Of course, with the disclaimer that I'm not a medical professional and this is just a spiritual perspective. Sorry, just legally I got to say that. But you know the truth of the interaction as you psychically, intuitively feel it to be. And mentoring is a solid commitment to yourself in the self you wish to be and become and live as. So I don't necessarily mentor everybody who reaches out, but for people who are ready, for people who feel it's right, it's really a joy, and we make a lot of progress together. And there's a lot of stories I can share if you're curious and you want to do an exploratory call. Mastermind is kind of a support group where we would do a live every week, and it would be private. There'd be opportunities for spot coaching and collective group coaching. So making spirituality fun, learning advanced energy healing techniques, learning ways of amplifying your manifestation, seeing others' journeys and how others overcome struggles and channels on their journeys, and doing a group collective practice like we just did here, but doing it where everyone gets a chance to share. That's a mastermind. And if you're interested in that, please shoot me a DM. And then Wizard School is if you're really excited to build of magical skills and learn all about energy healing and chakras and channeling and all these topics. If you're newer or you just want the depth of what I've offered and what's come through me over the years, Wizard School is something to sign up for as well. And it's amazing. I'm proud of it. I'm happy with it. It's really a gift to be able to offer it, to provide it. So again, mentoring, mastermind, Wizard School, if any of those resonate, shoot me a DM. And I think if it really feels core intuitive that you want to invest in yourself, you want to have the commitment to experience the shift, you'd like me to support and guide you personally and in a group, then don't wait. Honor the decision that's intuitively known to you and reach out and say, I'd like to do X. I'm willing to do what I need to do to have this shift. How do we move forward? Or something like that. And then we can talk, get on the phone, get on video, and you can be on a track for an amazing, powerful, rich, significant upward shift. So, I'm really grateful that you showed up today. I'm really grateful that I showed up today. And I hope this was enriching and valuable for you. If it is that you can help that greater world manifest, that greater world be present, where more people care about spirituality, lightheartedness, fun, compassion, and meditation, is honestly to share it with people, is to comment and tag people. And anybody you can think of, whether it's one person or 100, each person you bring in is somebody who has a chance to experience what you just experienced, and more of this type of thing, right? And to have a shared life experience with somebody, it helps if they have similar information. Hey, Mr. Eagle, what was what again? Please specify. Oh, great. Thank you. You did great. But to have a shared world of similar language, where when you say, can we do a positive trigger to shift into joy and fun before resuming this conversation? Or can we shift into theta and divine manifestation to shift into a new world together? For everything you know and everything you feel and have felt, the way of having a friend or a loved one have the possibility of that experience with you, to experience a bit more oneness, is for them to take in what you've taken in here. So obviously, social media, how sharing and tagging and commenting uh, can support the person who creates the content, like I'm doing right now for you. But think of it also for yourself. I'm grateful for that because it helps me serve more and reach more people. But just consider that from your own perspective, that there's people in your world you'd like to have a certain richer connection and experience with, if you feel that way, and then act accordingly. So a bit more housekeeping, and then one more bit of transmission, because that meditation was fun and rich, and I'd like to give more tonight, and it's feeling good too. Is if there's something you feel is really core for you and for your friend group to experience or shift or grow in, please mention that as well. Because even though I'm doing life purpose, astral projection, making spirituality fun, energy and emotional alchemy, and a mastermind each week, at least that's the intention, I love incorporating elements that you and other folks share in comments and in Messenger. But comments are great because other people can build off those ideas. All right, so one more meditation. And I actually normally only do one meditation per video. And so this is a fun treat. Oh, excuse me. I want you to take a quick second and shoot me a DM or write a comment if you were thinking about it, so you can clear your mind. So if Mastermind mentoring or Wizard School is exciting for you, please shoot me a DM or make a comment literally in this moment, because we're about to shift away from mind into meditation, and then we'll end the video as the meditation ends. So just giving you a second to do that. I want you to allow your system to clear. And since it's already pretty expanded, just allow your eyes to close and see a shower of white light coming in you. And just do a bit of a body scan as that white light comes in your head, moves down your neck. And I want you, as that white light rains down your body, to feel, and you can use your hands, feel your whole body relax and expand. And I want you to allow your hands to move all the way down your stomach and all the way down to your root. You can also do that energetically if you prefer. And just with your hands, or visualized if that's more ideal, is envelope your entire aura, your entire field in a white light. And again, anything you want to release, see as color and see it drain away from you. See it fall away from you. And I just want you to continue doing this and cleansing your whole system. As you cleanse your system, in your mind's eye, shifting up in awareness again to where you're looking at yourself as a witness, as an observer. See yourself standing where you're standing, sitting where you're sitting, whatever posture you're in. And this is a meditation you can do often, so just choose one being, a person, ideally, who's been on your mind often recently. And any emotions related to that, any story, wash down with one white light. Just consider that other being in a same safe, astral, visualized space with you. And I want you to see their whole system cleared. And this might take more work than your own system, but just see all of their stories, all of their emotions, all of their successes and failures, all of who you thought they should be and they weren't, all of who you would like them to be in the future, all your projections of story for that other being. I want you to wipe that slate clean. And just see you and that other being as pure souls, as collections of white light. 3D story can come back later if absolutely necessary. It usually does. That's how our minds work. And I want you to see that being as a mirror of you. And if you're familiar with the concept of consciousness as a hall of mirrors, we manifest people into our life to show us things about ourselves. And while you are a completely unique being in every respect that matters to you, from this higher spiritual perspective of oneness, the fragment of oneness that is your, you could say, limited 3D body, mind, ego self, and the fragment of oneness that is this other being that you're seeing, that you're conceiving of, I want you in a detached way to see what story elements, what emotional elements were existing in the past as called in for each other to remind each other of that oneness. The qualities and skills and strengths of that other being that you know are legitimately there are things that showed up for you to claim more in yourself in your own way. And see what they have to offer for you and to you, and see how that mirror is valuable as a reminder for yourself of the you you'd like to be. And again, we're staying in witness consciousness. We're not getting in interpretation mode. We're just seeing. Now, any qualities, any actions you might label as negative of that other being, in any other words, in any detail, staying distant, staying as witness, see how those could be reflections of similar frequencies in you. And it could be any qualities of any words you could call laziness or anger or irresponsibility or overexcitement. It could be any qualities of gluttony, of any vibrations related to truth, any vibrations related to commitment or honor or ethics, any words that you can consider. Look deeply into yourself and consider why you called in a reflection of yourself that has traits that you otherwise, from a 3D perspective, wouldn't have chosen to experience or interact with. Now, again, shifting out of the 3D, that might be tough. That might want to pull you into story and thought. But again, look up in this higher awareness, see that infinite divine creation, see that perspective of creating worlds, see that perspective of creating timelines and dimensions to experience infinity throughout. All worlds, all dimensions are fractals of each other. All souls are fractals in a kaleidoscope of diamonds, of millions of colors, of that great oneness where there is no division and no words. And this is just the divine knowing itself. This is just you knowing yourself. And every experience and every person and every encounter is just a reflection of that infinite divine fractal. And from that sense, this other being can only benefit you because they took you to this state of oneness by you acknowledging that. And acknowledging that you can see one more fractal, one more facet of oneness. I want you to put your hands together and just directly to that person, as if they were right there and could hear you, say, thank you. I want you to say, I release you from our 3D story. I appreciate everything we have experienced together. I forgive you for being human. I ask for, and I know I have your forgiveness for my being human with everything that can mean. And I let go of all past story. And with me, you can still repeat out loud, ideally, or in your mind's eye. In this moment of now, we are here. In this moment of now, we choose a happy world. In this moment of now, we choose the best version of ourselves to be. And in this moment of now, I commit to you, as much as my ego will allow, to be my highest self in your presence. And I ask for you to do the same. And I surrender the results. And with whatever futures are experienced, I am at peace. And I wish you peace. All right. And just feeling that peace, seeing from that divine perspective, the two of you may or may not cross paths in a way you have in the past, but consider the timeline and the option that you can choose in this moment of having this higher awareness and this being supporting you with higher awareness. Consider smiling and letting yourself smile, because this being, whatever, whoever, however they were for your story, is only a gift and the best holiday Christmas extravaganza ever. And as you look around all the other people in your life, people you've interacted with, again, you're witnessing from a higher vantage point, people you've interacted with briefly or continuously for however long, people you're aware of because you saw them on a screen or you heard of them from others. See every being as an element of the same divine fractal, which at the higher levels is you. And remember that all meaning of any one of those fractals is at this level of creation for you to choose. You can choose for any or all to be meaningful in a way that fills you with joy. And you know you can choose any alternative because you remember many alternatives that you've chosen from this higher vantage point of a soul. And I want to offer you a few more incantations that are optional but that are encouraged. So you can repeat after me. I know myself as a soul. I choose to remember my choice in how to feel. I will allow myself to be human. And I will remember this practice. I am a soul, and I am choosing to be human. And in choosing to be human, I also choose to remember. I let go of that which does not serve. I let go of any and all frequencies of victimization. I let go of all resistance to not being a responsible person. And I choose to take full responsibility for my own life experience inside the vessel of my own being. And I request the support of all the fractals of other beings to return me to awareness as an infinite soul. And I forgive them, and I forgive myself for every experience that feels otherwise. I wish I could play music over this because I want to play Shine Bright Like a Diamond. So I'd offer for you to play that as a positive trigger for this meditation, this experience, this anchoring. That anytime there's another being who bugs you, who irritates you, who makes you feel a charge that you otherwise wouldn't choose, all those stories, if you anchor in Shine Bright Like a Diamond, and thanks Adam for that song, you can have the positive trigger of just hearing Shine bright like a diamond. Okay, that was very off key, but you know how it sounds. And you can even say it out loud. You could even sing it. You could even write it. And I guarantee, as much as one can guarantee another's experience, which is as much as you believe in the guarantee, to be honest, that if you allow yourself to program yourself with this positive trigger, shine bright like a diamond, and you remind yourself to do it. And again, if you consciously, intentionally do it 50 times, you could do tally marks on a page if you want to cement this in. I commit to you to doing this for, I want to do it for like 85 people, but I know who I'm going to do it for right after this. And just to anchor in that positive habit, because that phrase in this practice is new for me too. So I'm going to think about that being. I'm going to feel whatever it brings up in my system. Offer the same for you. Notice the emotions, notice the story, and then out loud say, shine bright like a diamond. It's still off key. I got to listen to that song. Shine bright like a diamond. You know, it's better if it's sung. You know, that engages your emotional brain. And pop back up to that higher vantage point. Even if it's just a flat image of seeing them as one facet of a crystal, of a diamond, of a fractaline infinite consciousness, of a reflection of the divine, right? That is also you. Where you're detached from emotion, where you're grateful for their presence, where you're grateful for the experience because it helped you bring and become closer to that infinite self. And then when whatever actions or words or thoughts you have after that, you know, that's your business for your life, and I honor your choices. Coming from that higher perspective, it doesn't require explanation of value. You know, when you're in a higher state and in an expansive state and a loving state, how your thoughts shift, how your words shift, how you feel differently in your body, and frankly, how the rest of your day goes. And this technique is a fantastically effective technique at clearing triggers, at improving and strengthening relationships, and honestly, at taking you higher up the ladder of spiritual awareness. And the little tool, the little hack of making spirituality fun again, of throwing in a song lyric. Thanks, Rihanna. Love you, babe. That's just bringing in some joy. All right, time to end. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know there's still a lot of people here live. If you'd like to talk about mentoring, if you'd like to talk about Mastermind, if you'd like to talk about Wizard School, or hear more, be included, please comment, and I'll reach out to you. And stay tuned for announcements for future lives. My goal is to do 6 hours of lives a week on 3 different days: Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, and I'm building back up to that. And I really look forward to seeing you for those. And today's been awesome. So thanks for being a co-creator in this, because if it weren't for you, this wouldn't exist. All right. Much